Hi everyone, thank you for clicking. I'm a bit late to the party on this one as I was watching the 70.3 World Champs last weekend, but I've made videos on the previous two Super League races in London and Munich, so for completeness I wanted to do a quick run through of race 3 in the Super League Championship, this time in Jersey. The race would be over the Enduro format, 3 continuous triathlons, a 300 metre swim, a 4k bike and a 1.6k run, repeated 3 times over with no breaks. As with the other races, there would be 2 short shoots on offer, both on the first swim, bike and run. One for the first to cross the mountain line after swim and transition, and then another for the first through the bike and transition. The winner would take 15 points in the series, and here are the standings going into the race. The top 5 very clearly a cut above the rest. Louis in first, Brownlee and Wild equal in second, Yi in fourth and Velasa in fifth. Matt Hauser took the swim out very hard. We've seen him do this in previous races too. He appears to be in blistering swim form, but then struggles to stay at the front on the bike and run. There is a team competition going on in the series as well this year, with extra team points on offer for things such as first through the swim and transition. So Hauser has clearly been instructed to target these opportunities for the team interest. There's some pretty big money on offer for the team competition too, so for athletes like Hauser, who probably aren't going to win overall, this is their most efficient strategy, at least financially. Louis and Van Riel start to catch up to Hauser over the final 100 metres in the water, but Louis has the strength to go past Hauser, whereas Van Riel slots in behind. Upon exiting the water and heading up this ramp, Louis is in the lead, with Hauser his teammate between him and Van Riel. Hauser could have very easily taken the short shoot for first across the mountain line here, but very astutely he just slows up and lets Louis have it. The Scorpions still get the same number of points, and now Louis, who is going to be more competitive in the race, has a big advantage over the others in the final run. Of the top 5, Yi suffers the most and is out of the water 13 seconds down on Louis. Not a disaster, but it does put him at the mercy of Louis and Van Riel and whether or not they try to create a break. And this is exactly what the front 4 try to do. Courses in Super League are always very narrow and technical, so it makes it very difficult to move up past people once you're behind. The lead 4 do get a gap of 4 seconds or so, but Brownlee, Wild and Ryder form an ideal sized pack to chase them down over the first couple of laps. Velasa as well manages to get in on the front pack fun too by bridging across from the third group solo, helped in part by taking some very fast corners. Once they do make contact, Wild goes straight to the front, putting himself in a good position to take that short shoot on offer, but also doing a good job of keeping that pace high and making it really hard for Yi to catch up, who's around 10 seconds back still. As we come into T2, we see a bit of drama. Wild and Ryder dismount side by side, probably at a higher speed than we'd usually see in an ITU race. Wild loses control of his front wheel, it bounces up off the ground and takes him off balance. He makes contact with Ryder's bike with both his lower leg and his elbow/forearm. I think this helps Wild stay up, but it causes Ryder to come down, flinging his bike across transition. Louis and Van Riel get caught in the aftermath a bit, but Velasa's early transition slot allows him to avoid the carnage and just beat Van Riel out and take the short shoot. I really feel for Ryder here. It obviously wasn't intentional from Wild, but I think he is the one at fault and Ryder is the one that ends up worse off. I don't think Super League has a penalty system, but do let me know if you think Wild should have been given a penalty here for 5 or 10 seconds. I think Velasa gets a bit too pumped from his short shoot as well and takes off far too fast on this first run. There's still 6 more disciplines to go, so you're not going to win the race on this run. He's done the hard part by making this lead group when the likes of Mola and Burt Whistle haven't been able to, so now I think he just needs to recover from the solo bike effort as much as he can and bide his time in the front group until the short shoot time comes around. You can see Yi as well in the back here. He came off the bike 13 seconds down on the front group with Hauser and Fabian, but he's already closed half of that gap and dropped his group over the first 500 metres of the run, and about 800 metres later Yi has slotted into this lead group very nicely. There's a clear hierarchy that emerges in the water on the next cycle of swim bike run, but nobody gets definitively dropped from this lead group. After a poor first swim, Yi just about sticks with it this time. At some points in this race you can see that he's wearing a huge swim skin under his trisuit that's supposedly designed to redistribute his weight to improve his centre of gravity and ultimately make you more efficient in the water. Very much a marginal gain, but worth pointing out as no one else seemed to be doing a similar thing. Velasa has a dodgy transition and loses contact with this group, and along with Yi and Ryder spends the first half of the bike making up their 3-second deficit. We get some time splits during the bike, and you can see Fabian and Hauser are 40 to 50 seconds back now and definitely out of the running for the top spots, which really does go to show how important Yi's move on the run was in the first triathlon. This lead group comes into transition altogether. Unfortunately, there are no crashes this time. Louis, however, loses a few seconds getting his shoes on as he struggles with the floppy uppers on the Vaporflies. Wild picks up that a few are in difficulty at this point and pounces on the opportunity to shed a few from the group. Louis, Ryder and Velasa are the immediate casualties of this surge, losing 10 to 13 seconds on lap 1 as Wild takes out both short shoots in one move. On Instagram afterwards, Louis mentioned that he wasn't feeling his best, and I think for a few minutes here in the run he just lost a bit of belief that he could make up the time. Not content with just that, Wild maintains his pace and actually puts everyone in a bit of difficulty this time, including Yi, who enters the water 8 seconds down. It's a big move by Wild. It gives him a nice buffer into the swim, which should see him come out with the leaders and gives him a good shot at the win, but that is very much dependent on how much that run has just taken out of him. Brownie and Van Riel catch Wild in the water pretty quickly, and again Yi is just hanging in there. He hasn't been at the front once so far, but he's done an excellent job of keeping contact and not letting any gaps get too big. Louis actually makes up a lot of his gap in the swim and makes a big push in the early stages of the bike. He gets to within 3 seconds of the front group, but Wild twigs what's happening and doesn't want to let Louis in his short shoot back in. He puts in a big effort and stays on the front for the whole lap, putting 5 seconds into Louis and relegating him back to his group of Velasa and Ryder. The front 5 go into the final run together, and it's Wild again that goes off the front, opening up a 3-second gap over the first 800 metres. Yi is leading the chase, and the gap is closing to Wild, but very, very slowly. As they round the second to last corner, the top 3 are all together. Wild is leading, Yi in second, and Brownie in third. Brownie makes the first move, just squeezing through the gap Wild has left to the barriers, whilst Yi matches Brownie's move on the other side. Brownie takes a really tight corner around the turnaround point, whereas Yi comes a little wider and takes a smoother route. This allows Yi to just carry a little bit more speed through the 180 turn, and with 10 metres to go, for the very first time in the race, Yi takes the lead and the win. Brownie in second and Wild in third. A really exciting race to watch that came right down to the wire. That moves Brownie into the series lead, with Wild second and Yi third ahead of the final race in Malibu this weekend. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and I'll see you soon.